Hey everybody, welcome back to the Behaviour Revolution. It's very exciting here today. Last night began the Feast of Atonement. Down here in Australia anyway, we're so far advanced down here. It's way ahead of you all. So it's very exciting here today. We've got two immersions happening today. My two oldest sons, Josiah and Luca, have decided to go into the water. Yahusha's been talking to their heart. There's been lots of wonderful conversations going down. And what better day to do it than on the Day of Atonement? What better day to say sorry to Yahusha than the day that all of Israel was called to say sorry? What better day to be atoned in his blood than the Day of Atonement? So we're very, very excited down here today. This is the great Day of Atonement. It's a great day of incredible joy. And because unlike the first time Yahusha came, where he bought us back and paid for us legally, took us back, his creation, his bride, it's mine, I'm buying her back, it's finished, took her back. The next time he comes back, it won't just be legally, it will be completely, there will be no more flesh to atone for, because our flesh will finally be rent. Our flesh will be, if we've overcome, our flesh will be transformed. There will be no more flesh to need atoning for, And so I'm just very excited today, guys. As you know, in Israel, in ancient times, the Day of Atonement was the day that the great high priest would go into the most set-apart place and offer up the blood for the whole nation. Any little evils or wickednesses or anything that fell through the cracks during the whole year, things that hadn't been already sacrificed and atoned for. This was just a national cleansing. National cleansing of the camp of Israel, of the nation of Israel, a national cleansing, to cleanse them all, so they could be in right relationship with Yahusha. And as we know, when Yahusha comes back, there will actually be a global cleansing, and those who have not come into the reign, those who are not running the race, those who have not overcome, will be cleansed, wiped off the earth, burnt up. So that's where we should be putting our focus, guys, on the overcoming of the self, the overcoming. Because I don't know, everybody's all scattered all over the world. Israel's been scattered into the nations, and people are starting to wake up. There's a portal starting to open on people's hearts. They're recognizing and being awakened to who they are, to the blood covenant, and realizing it's for them. They are one of the lost sheep of Israel. So they're repenting, going in the water, coming out and having Messiah, Yahusha, within them. And a portal opens on their heart. They can communicate with him, and he through them, to discipline, rebuke, flog, chastise. And that's the goading we're all feeling. You see, Yahusha promises to never leave us or forsake us. Promises that. So even if we fall, we stumble, we willingly decide, I'm going to do that my way. I'm going to do a sin, a wicked little sin. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be evil. When we do that, Yahusha still promises to never leave us or forsake us, because he walked this earth, didn't he? He knows the evil that you're up against. And he knows the evil that I'm up against in a day. He knows the attacks. And I'm not just talking about when he walked in the wilderness. His whole life. He knows the attacks. He knows the power of the evil coming against you. But having said that, he didn't make excuses. He knew, he told us that what's in you, what I've put in you, is more powerful than what's out there. The spirit in you is more powerful than the spirit of the world. So that's why he goads us, he flogs us, to say, keep going. Don't choose that anymore. Don't do that. Yes, I know it's tempting. Yes, I know it's wooing and attractive and alluring, but face it, it's dead. And what does it feel like when you partake of all that stuff? It's hideous. It's death. So choose me, he says. And he will never leave us or forsake us. So On this day of atonement, like I said, it is a great day of joy. It's not just the national cleansing of Yisrael. We're looking ahead to the day where, after the Feast of Trumpets, when the dead are raised, all of us who are still alive will be transformed. This is the day we are transformed in the twinkling of an eye, if we make it. So I think that's the focus, isn't it? The making it. Everything else comes second. Making it. The making it. How do we get to the point where we make it? Yeah, there might be others that see this witness in us and want to come with us, but that's secondary. We need to make it, don't we? Where are you going to lead anybody or bring anybody if you're not going to make it yourself? What are you going to tell them if you're not having the experience yourself? If you're not undertaking the journey? Remember the last interview, the video with Christopher? The journey. Consciously starting the rules in your day. There's nothing more important than putting yourself off this hideous fleshly carcass. This thing that we walk around in has to die. And not just when we go in the water, that's only the beginning. That's when you come out and get given your battle plan, get given your armour, get given your equipment, get given a little bit of fruit that's got to grow, and a few gifts that are thrown in there as well to exercise, So you've got to take this seriously, guys. Otherwise, if you don't overcome, what's the point of all this? Yahushua wants a bride that will choose him in everything. So let's not look backward to what Yisrael had to go through, because that was cultural. Temples and priesthoods and sacrifices and fasting and all these things they had to do back then. The real fast is of the self. The self has to die, not just withholding food from your vessel for 24 hours. Any mug can do that. Plenty of mugs do it out in the world, part of their daily routine. No, the real fast today is the fasting of the self, the fasting of the wickedness that wants to come through us, at our spouses, our children, our friends, at work, the wickedness that wants to come out, the self. Wicked spirits want to use, demons want to use your vessel. So if you're not being loving and kind and undertaking this journey, there's a filthy little demon sitting there inside you with its hand on your throat. You won't say that. Don't you dare say that. Don't you dare be that or go there, or he's got you. Because once you do something that's wicked, you are a slave to it. That's right. Walk in the spirit, not in the flesh. That's great, but what does that mean? What does that mean? We've all got lovely things to say, don't we? But what does it mean? How do you do that? How do you do that? You've got to choose him. You've got to kill this thing. So it's very exciting, guys, on the Day of Atonement. And like I said, we've got an immersion, 2 immersions happening today. A lovely lunch happening with Christopher and Victoria. Because, what else are you going to do? This is an appointed time. An appointed time, a Moedim. And remember, it's not about what we do. On an appointed time, Yahushua is always doing something. If you're at the right time, at the right place, time and space, remember? If you're in the right time at the right place, you will witness something phenomenal, because that's what an appointed time, a Moedim, means. Something is going to happen. If you're waiting, watching at the right time, and the right time, of course, is on the feast, and the right place is wherever you are. Or if there's a gathering happening, you're there. So, what are you going to see? Today we're seeing an immersion. What are you going to see on your day? Yahushua always does something, because that's what a Moedim means. Not about what we look back and, how did they do it back then? And, what? That's them. Yahushua's talking to you today. What does he want you to do today? What does he want you to do? So I'm just very, very excited, guys. This is how you afflict, there you go, afflict your being. This is how you afflict your being. Do you want to afflict it just one day of the year because an old instruction says so? A living instruction, an inspired instruction. I'm not saying it's not. But this is how we are to live it. Today, on the Day of Atonement, we recognise not only that Yahushua atoned for us, with his own perfect blood, but we recognise that he's coming back and we will be transformed. But we also recognise, apart from all the joy, we recognise that we've got to make it. Don't just be living in a delusion. You've got to make it. That's why you've been immersed. That's why you've gone on this journey. And that's why you are feeling what you're feeling. If you're in incredible depression or misery or anxiety or any of these terms that the world likes to put on your mental state, if you're feeling any of these things, don't go blaming demons. Who's just prodding you and pricking you and, slapping you and flogging you? Wake up. He wants a response from you. Doesn't like the way you're behaving. Definitely doesn't like the way I behave either. We've got to change, brothers and sisters. And what better day to change than on this amazing day of atonement? So I just wanted to drop you all a line and say, rejoice and come into the feast with a true understanding. Not with the old wine, the old behaviour. With the new wine, new understanding, new behaviour, inspired by Yahushua himself. That the afflicting of our being is a constant, all day, every day thing. Not whipping yourself with whips like the Catholics do. Not fasting like the Jews do. Saying no to those thoughts that want to come through. No, I'm not going to do that. No. Yahushua said you can say no. And then after you've said no for long enough, you just ignore them. You just ignore them because they want to destroy you. I love you guys. Stay strong.